This episode is brought to you by Shopify. Forget the frustration of picking commerce platforms when you switch your business to Shopify, the global commerce platform that supercharges your selling wherever you sell. With Shopify, you'll harness the same intuitive features, trusted apps, and powerful analytics used by the world's leading brands. Sign up today for your $1 per month trial period at shopify.com/tech, all lowercase. That's shopify.com/tech.
Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode, and I've got a fantastic guest in the neighborhood, Kofi Annan, and he's an entrepreneur. He's going to talk to us all about innovation, branding, leveraging technology, adapting to digital shifts, and advice for emerging brands and entrepreneurs. It's really a fascinating discussion, and I'm happy to welcome Kofi to the show. Welcome, Kofi.
Thank you, Christopher. It's a pleasure being here. I'm glad that that you had me on the podcast.
Yeah, I know you're helping leaders build smarter and more impactful brands. So start by talking about your journey, and we'll dive right into it.
Yeah. I mean, it's been a long journey, and I think I always say that my official title, as people describe my role, is usually strategist, and up to today, my parents still don't know what that means. But how I simplify that in communicating what I do is that my role is I work with a number of different kinds of businesses. In the past, I've worked with global Fortune 500 businesses like PUMA, Mercedes Benz, Pfizer. And now I spend a lot of time with startups and scale-ups, really in both cases, helping different companies bring their ideas to the world, right? So a lot of companies have a great idea around a product or a need in the market, and they really understand the intricacies of that product. And they have a sense of what who are the people who need that. But a lot of times, this, particularly with startups and small businesses that are growing, they don't have a structured way of really getting that product to market, making sure that it stands out in the market, making sure the company and the product stands out in the market, and then making sure that those ideas or those products get into the hands of the people who could use it most. And that's usually where I come in, like really making sure that that company or that brand has a position in the market where people recognize it and people see the value in the company. But then even more importantly, people are able to understand and get their hands on the product and make use of it. So I really come in at that nexus there. And I love that being at that stage, because you really get to work with a lot of companies, and especially with startups and small businesses that have great ideas and great offerings to bring out to the world. And I get to be a part of them bringing that to the right people, and seeing that change both in the startups and the scale ups that I'm working with, and kind of their excitement and their happiness that they see of their product getting out into the market, and getting to the right people, but then also the impact that it has with the people who are actually interacting with that. So I love being in that space, and I've been in that space for over 20 years now.
Yeah, I love your passion, and so we'll dive right into it. And one thing is talking about is the digital shift is always changing. So how do you stay ahead of the curve, and what key digital trends do you see playing a crucial role in the future of branding?
Yeah. So one thing I've seen over my 20 years or so of working with brands of different sizes is the impact of technology, and how it could be a benefit, particularly with if you know what to do with it, right? I think a lot of us, as individuals and even businesses, especially again emerging businesses that have smaller budgets and are resource strapped and time strapped. Technology can definitely be an asset, but at the same time, it can be a detriment, because it gets, as you mentioned, it evolves over time, and it's always changing. The past couple of years, it's gone from social media, it's gone to crypto, it's gone to the metaverse. We're now in these I think kind of in the middle of this AI hype that we're experiencing now. So these technologies that come into the market definitely are very helpful, and it gets people excited about doing things differently. But in a lot of the conversations I have with my clients, it always boils down to they want to use these technologies and they see the value. You even look at social media that's been around for a while, they see the value, but it's really like, how can I use it to serve me? Right. And I always love those kind of conversations because the technology, you shouldn't be chasing the technology. The technology should be serving you. So in where I come in with my clients, it's really helping understand the different technologies. So AI, in this case, AI is great efficiency tool. It helps you do a lot of things really quickly. It moves really fast. And this current iteration of AI it is smarter than you would assume most technologies are. But I think, where a lot of companies run into problems or hit a wall is that they don't have a strategy going in and they throw everything at the AI, right? And then I always say garbage in, garbage out, because if you don't understand what you're doing and you don't understand how that technology should be serving you and your individual business and your individual industry, you can have a lot of content and a lot of things come out of there really quickly that don't really serve you, your customers, and it certainly doesn't help build your business or your brand. So, technology is great. I think technology is great. It helps enable people, but you have to have a right strategy and the right framework to be able to use that technology efficiently and effectively. So you're not spending a lot of time tooling around. I mean, you have a business to run, right? You don't want to be spending a lot of time learning prompts engineering and all these other things. It takes a long time. So my role is usually to help people get there faster and more efficiently. And, I think technology is wonderful. It's brought us together, right, Christopher?
Yeah. Yeah, it's made it's made things very simpler, more efficient, more cost effective. And podcasting has been great to connect. So what I really love is your idea of strategy and intention. And can you discuss a specific case where using these technologies intentionally significantly enhanced a brand's market position?
Yeah. So I recently worked with a South Korean startup, and they're actually based in Seoul. Their technology is really, it digitizes textiles, right? So you think of textiles, the fabrics that create different clothing and different materials. There's a huge marketplace in Korea of textile manufacturers. But again, for them they produce the goods, but those goods obviously have to go to different companies, and they have to source it that way. So this company, my client, kind of sits at that middle where they help create a marketplace where people who want textiles could come through their technology to access the textile. So a great opportunity, right, to expand beyond the local market. When we engaged, that company was looking to enter the US market, right? Because you can, particularly within the fashion and apparel context, right? So the big question that they wanted to solve was, how do we now bring these textiles with these partners that we have through our technology and give the access to the businesses in the U.S. market to access this textiles? And that initially they're online, right? So they'd created a website and kind of, put everything up on the website, and did reach out to a couple of people through LinkedIn and such, and they weren't really getting too much traction. So that's kind of where they came to me, like, well, like, what are we doing wrong? And one of the key things that with the strategy and what I've seen work with even some of my big clients like PUMA, again, similar kind of apparel industry, is first starting to understand who your customer is, right? As much as technology brings us all together and we're in a global economy and you could reach anyone differently, local culture still permeates, and it still drives people's buying habits. So the two things we did there to help them was to build different pilots and essentially like different websites where we're able to drive some traffic for specific customers. So we took some time to identify them online through their online behaviors and their social media. So we said, okay, these are the kinds of people that probably make sense makes sense for the business that you're trying to build. So now that we know who they are and where they are, what particular social platforms they're in, and what they're doing online. So what are the kinds of, how do we now start driving them to this business? So building things like different landing pages, doing email outreach, and also PR. We're able to both connect with those people. And again, initially just kind of connect with them as far as with the problem that they're having as far as textiles, getting textiles for their fashion brands. So connect with them there, introduce this company, my client, as a partner. So kind of through education, but then obviously and ultimately usher them from that education context, so that those people became clients. So they started saying, "Oh, okay, great. These people they're from a different country, but they understand the dynamics of my business. So I see them as a partner." And then now they're like, "Oh, great. So now I know that I could see them also now as a supplier." So it's a multi-stage process. And in the past, when I was working with PUMA, that process would take, and this was effective in then, that process would probably take about 6 to 9 months at minimum and cost $1 million. And we literally had 6 to 9 months when I did this with PUMA, and it cost about $1 million to do those same things and get that impact. With this company, who's a startup, it costs, I think the budget that we even spent at any given time was about, over the course, maybe 10,000 US. And we were able to do that same amount of work in much shorter time. I'm talking about probably in about 2 to 3 months, right? So the technology really leveled the playing field for them, in the sense that they were able to accomplish so much with so less resources and reach further. But I think the icing on the cake was, our collaboration, me working with them to make sure that they're following the right processes as well. So we were able to really knock down, and they got a number of write-ups in major fashion magazines, and they were able to expand their brand to spawn a new brand that specifically catered to the U.S. market, and obviously grow their revenue as well. So it's those kinds of things that I love doing, and they're now doing really stellar, and it was a great interaction for us.
Yeah, I love that. And it's a fantastic story as when you can leverage technology to for brand growth, especially like AI, data analytics. You also got what I really love is this cultural insights and global branding. And considering from your experience globally, you got Ghana to major tech events around the world. How do you incorporate local cultural insights into a universally appealing brand strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is, a lot of times, that is the missing link in a lot of marketing and advertising, right? People are still going. A lot of people think of marketing and advertising or branding as this kind of spray and pray, right? We're going to go really wide. We're going to go to everyone, and hopefully someone catches on. And in reality and in practice, you really have to speak to one particular type of person, right? And that's where, and it's not just one kind of person in form of a demographic, but a psychographic as well. What is the experience of that person? Where do they live? What kind of food do they eat? Some of these things might seem irrelevant for a textile manufacturer, right? Or even, I have a waste management company that I'm working with right now. That might seem insignificant for a B2B, for even, right? But really, you want to get inside the culture and the habits that your customer is experiencing, right? Because the more that you understand your customer and what they're experiencing and their challenges and their pain points, the better you are to, one, realize that they actually have a pain point that you could solve, or that your product could actually solve. But then also, you're able to speak to them, more importantly, in their language, right? And sometimes you have founders or business owners who are like, "Oh yeah, I used to work in that industry already. I already know how these people are." But we all know that things change, societies change as you even move. We're both in Texas, right, Christopher? I'm in Dallas, and even in this area, there are different nuances about people in Dallas, in Dallas, the city, people in Plano, where I am, somebody in Frisco. So you really have to get to the nuances of that. And it's all about the broader culture, but then more specifically, the experiences of those people. And I really, with my clients, we really spend a good amount of time with the help of AI tools and stuff so not time like as far as months, but we spend in the time that we work together, we spend a good amount of time understanding that so that even when we don't work together, my clients know who they're talking to and they know how to talk to them and they're able to reach them much faster. And it also reduces their ad spend, right? Because if you're able to find the right person and speak to them quickly and impact them, then if you're buying ads, you're spending a lot less on ads because you're not spraying and praying. You're actually getting to the right people.
Yeah, I love that. And a lot of times, even though, you feel like, you're only talking to the people that are most engaging, there's a lot of people listening and you never know. There's always somebody listening, no matter how even if you think nobody's listening, there's your followers. So I love that. One thing, the other question is, you or 2 decades of experience, and share a pivotal moment that truly transformed your approach to building impactful brands.
So there was, so I'll use I'll go back to the PUMA example because it was really a transformational time for me, particularly working with corporate and what corporate big clients like that, but then also obviously how I translate that framework and that strategy to my current clients. But so this was back in 2010, 2009 actually. In PUMA, there was going to be the 2010 World Cup, right? And that's, especially outside of the US, it's a pretty big deal, the World Cup. So it's different countries and such. And PUMA, as much as it's a well-known brand, with any event like that, a world event, obviously you have to carve out your market share. You want to make sure that people know about you. You want to make sure that you're gaining new customers for any initiatives. So when I worked with them, as much money, and it's really not about money and budget and stuff like that. It's about how smart, and that's why a lot of things I do is focus on being smarter about what you're doing. So they have tons of money. I mean, obviously everyone knows PUMA, but the big problem that they had was that they didn't really know how to reach these new type of customers, right? And they were at a loss, right? Because they didn't understand the culture. It would take them forever to really understand it, to really create their products. They had a short time frame. And, what was unique for it for me was that this was the first time that the World Cup was being held in Africa, right? And as somebody who was born in Ghana, West Africa myself, besides that fact, it was a huge kind of thing of pride and attention for me. But then when PUMA reached out to me, that also kind of helped me understand my value in from a cultural perspective, as an individual, but also from a expertise perspective, right? So working with PUMA was really kind of a validating for me in the sense that we were able to really get really deep into the understanding the customers, understanding their pain points, understanding how to reach them, where to reach them, how often, all those kinds of things. Like I said, in a much shorter time at that time, with a good smaller budget than Nike had. I think we had about probably a 40% increase in the brand awareness during that time. Again, because we spent the time to understand the customer and position the product with the customer. So it's a great opportunity for me to be involved in that kind of a initiative, but then also to validate the process that I'd been using with other companies that I'd refining for myself, with other companies with what they're doing there. And it's really about the customer, the essence, the visuals, obviously what a lot of people think about, which PUMA had in spades. They have the graphics and all that kind of stuff, but then also the experience that we wanted to create for that. And that could be on social media, that could be in live events and everything. We kind of crafted that as well. And then ultimately what really matters is, at least for the business, was the revenue that we drove and the impact. So in this case, we had about a 40% brand lift in brand awareness, right? So, when those things come together, those four pieces come together, it really works both for the clients, and then I find pride. So that was a real pivotal point proof point for me to now start taking that to a broader market and really refining that with my clients now.
Yeah, really fascinating. How can people contact you and, follow you and reach out to you if they're interested in learning more about you?
Yes. So my company, the company I run now, it's called the Brand Sensei, and the Brand Sensei, like SENSEI. And what we do is exactly what I was saying. Is like we have a proven formula that we help different startups or growing businesses bring their brand, make sure their brand stands out, make sure it reaches it reaches further to reach the right people, but also generate revenue. And you can find us at, actually have a tool that I'm going to share with your listeners here that'll help them do an assessment for themselves. And I have that in as well, some of the information to contact me at thebrandsensei.co/freedom. So thebrandsensei.co/freedom. And you could find the assessment tool that helps you assess how you could use AI in your business to accelerate your business, but then also some other resources and some information about me and the Brand Sensei.
Yeah, really fascinating discussion. And for all the audience, be sure to give Kofi a like and follow on all of his socials. And thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Christopher. It's a pleasure being here.